We invite David Fraser to the stage, please. This is a man whose glass has always been half full because of his eternal optimism and his idea that people live and should compete on equal footing. Men and women with visual impairment are accepting sport participation as a norm in their lives. Because of what David Fraser has done for the blind community, he is being recognized as a builder this evening. Here's a quote. "There were many coaches, medical personnel, and volunteers from all walks of life who made that journey possible," he said to Chronicle Herald reporter Jennifer Stewart, who wrote the magazine profile in the publication you have tonight. And that is typical Dave Fraser, modest, unwilling to accept his vast share of accolades. But this man has done so very, very much, and what better way to tell you than to let one of his athletes do it? This is Gary Trenholm.
David, you know, absolutely was a pioneer and was the catalyst that drove the whole thing forward. He wanted to get it active everywhere, and so our team in particular, we got to other parts of the, you know, when we went to Canadian meets in other parts of the country doing meets, we were setting the standards. We heightened the bar at a level where it was starting to get, you know, quite good. As a result of that, he started getting the attention of, you know, of university coaching staffs. We're starting to take some of the kids on and get involved in blind sports. So no, without question, he was, you know, he was certainly the driving force.
It all started in 1974 when he was a counselor at the Sir Frederick Fraser School for the Blind. He had been an athlete, actually was still running quite actively, but had competed in Nova Scotia championships in swimming, golf, track, basketball, soccer, cross-country running, and cross-country skiing, a sport that also took him to nationals. He earned a physical education degree at Dalhousie University, a psychology degree at St. Mary's University, and a diploma in cardiovascular fitness programming from Kent State in Ohio. While recreation counselor at the School for the Blind, David and his wife Charlotte were group parents to 20 visually impaired girls. He coached track and field, cross-country running, and basketball, inspiring blind youngsters to achieve their full potential.
I think we might have been taken on originally as an experiment more than anything, but just one thing led to another. We sort of grew up, went to university. David got involved. He was always involved in athletics. He was a very good athlete himself, you know, in quite a few sports, but predominantly running was his big one. And started training, you know, started kicking us around and getting us involved, and you know, one thing led to another, and then some competition opportunities started coming up, and David got very active as a leader in that, and coach and so forth, and then we started traveling around the world.
In 1975, he coached Paul English to become the first blind Canadian to compete in the Boston Marathon in a very credible time of 2 hours 49 minutes. That led Dave and others to form Blind Sport Nova Scotia to promote the physical, emotional, and social rehabilitation through competitive sports. During Dave's first year as coach of the association, his athletes won 21 medals at the Canadian Championships. It was all straightforward from there, with many challenges, of course.
He was very inspiring and pushy and demanding, and you can do this and you can do, and sure enough, you know, it wasn't long before not only were we setting world records in the blind world or the disabled world, but a lot of us were running, you know, parallel with a lot of the local talented, able athletes.
Dave became a director of the Canadian Blind Sports Association. He organized and chaired the first Canadian Indoor Games for the Blind, coached the national goalball team to a 7th place finish out of 23 teams at the World Championships in Austria, and coached the national blind track team to first place in the Pan Am Games, that's for the blind, in Chicago. Even though his athletes were having success, another goal was ahead. Dave wanted his runners to be competing in the same meets as sighted athletes. In 1979, he was the organizer, race director, and fundraiser for, at the time, the largest and most prestigious able-bodied meet ever held in Atlantic Canada. It included Canada's national blind team, too, and was an integrated meet. blind athletes established 3 world and 8 Canadian records. Chronicle Herald reporter Steve Bezanson quoted Dave Fraser saying of the August 4th, 1979 event, "I don't think there has been a better meet in Eastern Canada. They're all top quality times. It's just too bad we couldn't educate the spectators." And the author, Bezanson, agreed. He said, "The only people shortchanged by the meet were those who neglected to attend."
Okay, gang. Everybody knows everybody, all right? We know what we're doing. We got a real big race here today, all right? We're looking for a Canadian record, all right? Everybody knows who's going to be in there for that, but yet there's a good race between 4 guys in here. Okay, you're all going to look real strong. We all got good guide runners we're comfortable with. It's only 1,500. All right, how's that rope feel for you, Jack? All right? Good for you?
The guide running is probably the part that I enjoy the most because I actually learned to share with my runner. I can't do it without him. He can't do it without me. And I know some of my best experiences in my lifetime have been shared ones. The guide running is a mutual guide running. Sometimes we can use rope to lead each other around, but our extreme goal is to share the guide running by elbow contact, where it's important for him to contact me with his elbow, as well as it's important for me to contact and tell him that we're coming into a turn or we're on a straightaway.
Dave coached the national track team at the World Olympics for the Disabled in Holland in 1980, a team that won 34 medals, setting 4 more world records and 26 Canadian records. He traveled the country teaching coaches, teachers, and volunteers how to work with and coach blind athletes. But that wasn't all for Dave Fraser. With much enthusiasm, he opened a specialty sporting goods store for runners, organizing scores of races, fun runs, and clinics all across the province. His store and the events raised more than $500,000 for charity. He and his staff developed a road racing series that set a standard since adopted by provincial and national road racing associations. He organized the first national 20K road race in Halifax and brought Boston and Canadian marathon champions to Halifax for clinics. He organized the initial Terry Fox Run to raise funds for cancer research, an event that has grown and grown through the years and is still held annually. For all his work in 1982, he was awarded a Jean Vanier Award as an outstanding young Canadian for his contribution to blind sports.